The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I'm Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Here it is, Friday, March the 31st. My Lord, 1/4 of the year is already gone, and what a year it's been so far. We're coming to you on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and on Channel 32. That's the X Zone TV channel exclusive to Simul TV. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And got a great show lined up for you tonight. My first guest is a gentleman we've had the pleasure of having on the show before. His name is Dr. Bruce Goldberg. And we're going to be talking about time travel, hypnotherapy, and who knows what else. So joining me now is Dr. Bruce Goldberg. And Bruce, welcome back to the X Zone.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to reincarnate here. I noticed your disclaimer. I promise there'll be no nudity on the show tonight.
Yeah, I often wonder who the hell that was for.
That's a standard default kind of disclaimer. You know, I guess they're dealing with things like if you're on spring break and you're looking at the women on the beach, you know, just things like that. But don't worry, we're okay.
The last time I looked at a woman on the beach, it was my wife, and I haven't looked at another woman since.
Okay. That's why you wear the dark glasses. I got it.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Bruce.
Okay. Well, my doctorate is in dentistry, of all things, and I practiced actually for 13 years, but only 2 of those were full-time. The other 11 were part-time because I had a full-time hypnotherapy practice, which I've been doing now for nearly 50 years now. It's my 40th year. And I specialize in taking people in accessing the higher self. We're going to talk about that in a moment, to help people to travel into past lives, future lives. I was the one who developed the field. The book you see over my head, The Past Lives, Future Lives, is my first book ever published on future life progression. It was published by Ballantine. And I've written 21 books altogether now, published in 21 languages. So if you have an international audience, they may be familiar with my work too. But what I want to emphasize is that the term that I use to describe my work is called psychic empowerment, which means I'm using the subconscious mind, the soul, if you will, that's an electromagnetic radiation, just like this computer signal, to connect with the patient's higher self, the perfect part of the soul, to allow them to empower themselves to overcome issues, habits, phobias, to be able to accomplish, to be all they can be, and to things in life. So the superconscious mind tap is something I developed in 1977. And this is the technique of training the patient by using hypnosis, which means I'm talking to their subconscious mind, to train them to access their higher self. The superconscious mind is what it's called technically. That is the clinical name that was named by Plato, actually. And this occurs during the dream levels at night, which forms a form of energy healing. So any goal that's humanly possible can be accomplished. I've worked with terminal diseases like cancer and AIDS and lupus. I'm not trying to say I'm curing them by whatever, because the patient does 99% of the therapy during the dream levels at night, the REM cycle, we call that, by connecting with the higher self. The higher self comes from the God energy complex. So basically it's creative, it's curative, it can do anything. So that's the basis of my famous superconscious mind tap technique, which is good for energy healing. And by the way, for the benefit of the audience, most of my patients are done by computer. I use Zoom sessions for like 95% of my patients. So if they're interested in my work and don't want to have to come to Los Angeles, then they're more than welcome to contact me via email, and then we can do computer sessions. But I'd like to discuss just quickly, I don't want to spend a lot of time on time travel so much before we get to the good stuff, meaning that time travels from our future and out-of-body experiences. But I do have a very famous case of a past life regression, which was well documented by a CBS TV movie called The Search for Grace. It was based on my second book. And in this case, a woman who was very depressed, very complicated in her life because her boyfriend that she was dating a married man, and she was about 25 years old and single. He tried to literally murder her on 3 different occasions. So we call him Johnny, not his real name. This is the patient I've done the most number of regressions with any patient I've ever worked with, 46 regressions. And in those 46 past life regressions, 20 of them she shared with Johnny in past lives, and he murdered her every single time.
So you were able to break the cycle?
This was breaking the cycle. The last murder was in 1927 in Buffalo, New York, and her name was Grace Doze, D-O-Z-E. This case was fully documented, not by me, interesting enough. I had some of the basic facts. I turned it over to the network. This is CBS. They're not exactly a new age groupie network, okay? They're very conservative, very hard-nosed, as you know. The iWeb, as they call that. And they sent an investigator there for 3 weeks in Buffalo, not far from where you are, okay? Just over the line there, okay? Yeah. And he shuffled off to Buffalo, as we say, for 3 weeks and documented the case fully. It's fully validated by the network, not by me. So the patient's information, not only was it valid, but she gave information on a couple of occasions that differed with the newspaper reports. The Buffalo Evening News is the main newspaper in Buffalo now, but there were 4 of them in 1927. She was correct. The reporters were wrong on a couple of the facts. Her date of birth and the name of and her son too, the name of her son. So basically, it's a very documented case. You can't prove reincarnation, but it's what we call suggestive evidence is the term that we use in science. So that's my most famous past life regression. Now, I'd like to quickly discuss my most famous future life progression, taking people into the life beyond this incarnation, right? And this was Jerry Springer, the infamous.
Oh my Lord!
I was on his show. This is a while ago, and I did a past life regression, and that was kind of fun. But the future life progression was done. It was about the end of the 21st century, around the year 2090, give or take. And he was a farmer in Montana, so his name was Montana Bobby, is what he called himself. And he would do sorties to the moon because he had a base up there or a farm up there, and they were using that for food stuff and other rare materials that we were getting from the moon back and forth. Well, Jerry, before the progression was done, he told me that one of his issues is he has a fear of heights and water, significantly. Those are phobias. Those are aquaphobia and hydrophobia specifically. So during one of these sorties, his little capsule crashed into the ocean and he drowned. So the cause of his current fear of heights and water is not from a past life or from the earliest stage of this life, but from his next life as Montana Bobby. Isn't that interesting? So that's Jerry Springer.
It is, but how can the future already exist?
Okay, so let me give you my classic helicopter analogy. Let's assume that, well, I don't know your freeways in St. Catherine there, but let's assume that you're in a car and you're driving on the freeway and you've just driven, say, 5 miles behind you is where you came from. So that's your past. Okay.
Right. Okay.
It's 5 miles behind you on the freeway. It's too far.
Yeah.
Let's say you're going to maybe you're going home. So now you're going to go 5 miles forward on the freeway. And again, you can't see the freeway in your car. But let's say everybody has cell phones and there's a helicopter above the freeway, like they have traffic reports. I'm sure you have them there too.
Sure.
All right. An helicopter, because it's 200 or 300 feet beyond the freeway, can see all past, present, and future at the same time. You see? So you can't see your past and future, but your helicopter can. Now,
but the helicopter is only seeing in real time where I am. It's following me.
I'm using this as an analogy because now to create science involved, this is quantum physics now, quantum mechanics, is that once you enter into the 5th dimension, just like you go to sleep at night, you have the REM cycle. That's an out-of-body experience. And we're going to discuss out-of-bodies in just a moment. This is a lead into it. So when you go out of the body, you are now in the space-time continuum of which there is no past, present, and future. They're all simultaneous. So that's why I use the helicopter analogy to symbolize the 5th dimension.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Doctor. The quantum physics is just a theory. It hasn't been proven yet.
No, Okay, let me give you an example. Quantum physics is a hard science. It's based on math. Now, I was on a radio show one time, a network show, several years ago, and there was an astrophysicist from Caltech. Now, Caltech is the university that's actually rated higher than MIT. That's how good it is. All right, it's a biggie. Kip Thorne is there, if you know who his work is. Okay, so the professor, of course, didn't like me. As soon as he saw me, I don't know who he is. I never saw him before. He said, doctor, I don't like you. And I said, I don't. We've never met, so that's not a good way to introduce yourself. But I'm going to assume, you correct me if I'm wrong, it's what I represent that you don't like. I represent quantum mechanics as the basis of my work. And you don't like that because quantum mechanics is a subjective science. Science is supposed to be objective. But in quantum mechanics, nothing happens unless you see it, unless you observe it, right?
Right.
And he can't deal with it. So he said, yeah, you're right. I can't deal with that. And I said, well, professor, take a breath, relax. Let me ask you, how do you go to school from your home? You drive a car? Yeah. You know what the car is based on? Quantum physics. You have a computer? You have a cell phone? We have a space program? We make nuclear bombs? This is quantum mechanics. So if you don't like quantum mechanics, maybe you should go to school in a horse and carriage, because that's what would happen if we didn't have quantum mechanics today. So quantum mechanics is a part of our whole technology, our whole society. Everything is based upon quantum mechanics. It's a real science. It's a hard science. People don't like it because I was trained as a hard scientist. I've got 3 degrees in the sciences, okay? Mm-hmm. But again, it's subjective rather than objective, but it's a real hard science, and it's the basis of who we are today technologically.
But how can it be proven?
Well, you can prove the math. Just like when you were
math is math, and we know for a fact that in the past math has been proven to be wrong. So how do we know that
math is not? I don't know why you say that. Math is not proven to be wrong. I mean, 2 + 2 is 4. I mean, I don't care how you slice it. Mm-hmm. Math is based upon the rule of thumb is. There's an old rule of thumb in science. When we deal with physics and my work with biochemistry and things like that, if the math works, it's true. That's what we go by. If you can show things mathematically, how do you think we got computers? How do you think we got, the space program, artificial intelligence? This is based on quantum mechanics. All right. So again, math is very relevant.
All right. So if math is the basis for quantum mechanics, why don't we just call it math? Why do we have to use the scientific term quantum mechanics?
Because quantum mechanics is a division of math. You have many divisions of math. You have probability theory. It has nothing to do with quantum mechanics. Probability theory. The baseball game. That's probability theory. It has nothing to do with quantum mechanics.
All right. But probability theory. Theory means it's not fact.
It's based on math. No, it's a mathematical model. Everything is math. Everything is math. Trust me. If you want to go back to the origin of this, study Pythagoras. Everything is mathematically based.
No, the only thing I want to go to now is my first break because my producer's yelling in my ear.
Okay.
Explanation. Dr. Bruce Goldberg is our guest. www.drbrucegoldberg.com. We'll be back after this. Don't go away.
Question: what is the name of the unique blend of coffee you get that has been formulated by a neurologist, a neurobiologist, and a pharmaceutical chemist? Answer: you get Beautiful Mind Coffee, a unique coffee blend that tastes great and has herbal ingredients that your brain will love, and it is not just coffee, it's brainalicious. Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, the scientific team that created Beautiful Mind Coffee, decided to collaborate on a coffee focusing on brain health. As for those herbal ingredients found in Beautiful Mind Coffee, Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, utilizing their combined extensive scientific research background, worked with many natural and herbal products until the exact formulation that is found in Beautiful Mind Coffee was created. With a unique scientific formula not found in any other coffee being sold or served, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Every cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee contains scientifically formulated amounts of maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng, all supporting good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older, just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Did you know that cognitive dysfunction also refers to deficits in attention, verbal and nonverbal learning, short-term and working memory, visual and auditory processing, problem solving, processing speed, and motor functioning? For more on Beautiful Mind Coffee, the 3 scientists who formulated Beautiful Mind Coffee, and more details on the 3 unique herbal ingredients in Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available online at amazon.ca and amazon.com. To order Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca today.
And we're back here in the present in our studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. The doctor with me today is Dr. Bruce Goldberg. His website, drbrucegoldberg.com. Bruce, I have a hard time. I have a hard time believing that time travel is actually possible.
Well, okay. All you have to do is get yourself a 1985 DeLorean, and then you can experience it yourself. Now, trust me, the theory of let me give you an example. I'm being facetious.
Okay, please, sir.
Okay, so let me give you an example of an academic person. You may not know this person, I do, and his work is extremely well known in the scientific community. I mentioned him earlier. His name is Kip Thorne. He's an astrophysicist. He was the one that outdebated the existence of black holes from Stephen Hawking. He won that argument. Okay, that shows you the kind of guy this guy is, right? He's an astrophysicist at Caltech. In 1988, he wrote an article for the Physical Review Letters, which is a very technical physics journal, regarding the idea of time travel, enlarging wormholes, etc., using principles of quantum physics. That article was reviewed. It was accepted. Many people have tried to challenge it. Everyone failed. The guy's brilliant. He's a genius. And that article was used by the basis for the movie Contact, because the author of the novel and film wanted to get the article wanted to get the theory technical accurate. So he contacted his friend Kip Thorne, and that's where the article came in. So this is hard science. If you read this article, you won't understand it unless you got a background in calculus and quantum mechanics. It's a really technical article. But it's a scientific article in a scientific journal, which is extremely well respected internationally. So basically, there really isn't an argument. It's based on math, and he's proven it. And he also talks about if you are an advanced civilization in the future, enlarging a wormhole, lining it with exotic matter, which has negative mass, can create a time machine. And that's what this is about. This is about, we have the theoretical model for it. We just don't have the exotic matter or the technology to create one now. The only way you can use time travel, the way I do it, is through hypnosis. But let me give you an offer for your audience. This is important. This is for your audience now.
Okay.
I have written 21 books. One book I'd like to mention is, other than Past Lives, Future Lives in the background, is Exploring the Fifth Dimension. If any of your viewers go to my website and order that book from my site, not from Amazon or any bookstore, and they mention this show, the offer I'm going to give them is that they get an autographed copy of the book, but they also get a CD entitled Fifth Dimension Travel, which will guide them out of the body. They can become what I call an ultra-terrestrial, not an extraterrestrial, an ultra-terrestrial, which means you're a fifth dimensional traveler, and then they can experience past and future lives. Just like you remember about something in the past when you were in school or some event that was important to you, or you have a sneak preview of a future. Many people dream about events in the future that actually come true. They've been documented in scientific laboratories, like Krypton Ulner in New York in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, for example. So, and we have sleep laboratories around the world that are documenting that. So that's what that represents. So your viewers can actually experience it by using a very well experienced and well-developed technique that I use in my fifth dimensional travel. So let's discuss some of the different dimensions, because that's what we're dealing with here.
Before we get to that, I'd like to discuss the credibility of hypnosis.
Okay.
Because here in Canada, hypnosis cannot be used in a court of law.
Well, but that has nothing to do with the credibility of hypnosis.
Well, sure it does.
No, it doesn't. Let me explain what that is. We have the same thing in the States, but I'm going to show you something that's more important. The reason why it can't be used in a court of law is because there are some people that they feel will be able to confabulate and not be accurate in their statements. Just like you can't use a lie detector in court in America either. I don't know about Canada, but in America, John Dillinger was able to lie under oath in a lie detector, and he passed the lie detector, even though he committed 20 murders. All right, but let's pay the credibility. The American Medical Association, 1958. The British Medical Association, you are still related to England in your own ways in your country. 1955 accepted hypnosis as a medical accepted technique. So it does have a lot of credibility. It's used in clinical sciences, maybe not in law. Fine. They can have their own little games. They can do graphology.
Whoa, wait a second here. Hold on here. You're kind of being rather harsh on the judicial system because it doesn't believe in hypnosis. And as a former police officer, I take as exception to that.
Okay, well, let me give you another exception. Since you're a former police officer, I'm a former police consultant in 2 different police departments in the East Coast. And guess what they use hypnosis for? Investigation. Okay, you can use it for investigation. You document it by hard evidence, and then you can use that in court. And I was one of their investigators, or I should say, hypnosis experts dealing with the investigators. So I will uncover. I'll give you one example very quickly. As a police officer, you'll relate to this. There was a teenage girl on her way home from school. This is in Baltimore. This is in the 80s. And she was on the bus, and she met this young girl who was also same age. I guess they went to the same school. And she wore upside down crucifix. That's a bad scene. That's a satanic worship. But she didn't know that. So the little girl, they're having a conversation. The little girl says, "Why don't you come over to my house for dinner? And then you can go home later." And the girl stupidly said, "Okay." So she goes over to the little girl's house. She's taken into the basement. There's a satanic ritual going on. She's tied to the chair. She can't move. Okay. These are felonies, by the way. And there's an animal sacrifice. That isn't a felony. That's a misdemeanor. Okay. Anyway, the point was she's finally released the following morning. She's all shaken up. She's got anxiety. The police are called in. They called me in to regress her to find out where she was so they could go to the house and arrest these idiots. Well, we got the information and they were able to go to the house. The problem was these little weasels just left town. They rented the house and they just moved. I guess they realized the cops were going to be involved. But I was using it to get the data. They would have prosecuted these people for kidnapping and for, you name it. You're the cop. You can name all the charges, but kidnapping was one of them, okay? And so again, hypnosis was used. And I am an example of that. There were thousands of people like me around the country using hypnosis for investigation in criminal procedures. It's also used in civil procedures too, by the way, but definitely used in criminal procedures. So with all due respect, it's still credible because the police departments accept it. Okay,
not all police departments. Not all police departments.
No, not all police departments do anything. I don't care about. There's always people who accept it. Look, if one police department accepted it, and I was a representative of 2 in one particular city, then they wouldn't do it to make me look good. They do it because it's credible. So now, can we go on and discuss out-of-body experiences now at dimensions? I think your audience is more interested in that than a criminal.
Well, I don't know about that. My audience is interested in whatever I like to talk about.
Okay. Well, would you like to talk about more police work, or would you like?
No, I'd like to know how hypnosis works.
Okay. Well, hypnosis is simply when I'm speaking to you right now and to your audience. There are 2 levels of consciousness that are functioning. One is the ego, which is the beta brainwave level, as we measure it on the electroencephalograph. This is the critical analytical part of your mind that you used in your police work. That was the left brain, as they say, if you're right-handed. Now, the other part of the brain is the right side of the brain, which is the creative and emotional part of it. Like I'm a writer. I use my right brain when I'm writing my books, or somebody writes music or plays or sculpts, objects or paints film, does painting. They're using their creative part. So right now, both levels of the mind work, which is a problem because the ego is going to try to block everything. It doesn't want to change. It's very narrow-minded. It's very straight-laced and says, I control everything. It's a control freak. So hypnosis is a way of relaxing the patient very nicely and then giving the ego, the beta brainwave, as we say, a coffee break, and then talking to the subconscious directly. The subconscious is a computer. It's a massive computer. And that is your soul, which is the alpha brainwave, all right? The soul, as we would call it from a New Age perspective.
Right.
And when I'm talking to the soul, to the subconscious, I'm now training my patient to connect with the higher self, because the soul's energy is compromised. That's why people have problems. Think of it as an energy immune system. If you build up the immune system, you resist a cold, a virus, for example. If you build up the soul's energy to a higher level, quality-wise, not quantity, then they can be immune to issues they were previously vulnerable to. And that's the basis of my therapy. That's where the energy healing.
Okay, so when you do this, take your patients or your clients into the future, into time travel, how do you do that, sir?
Well, basically, when I'm doing the hypnosis, I'm simply asking them, let's go to the origin of your problem. Like in Jerry Springer's case, the origin of his problem was in 100 years. Or if somebody wants to work out, they want to know whether they're going to have a positive relationship with someone. They want to know whether their business procedures are going to work. They want to know any decision they need to make that's going to happen in the near or distant future. They would like to know that. Now, another aspect of my work is I deal with people that are very depressed because of our society today, these days. They want to know what's going to happen for this life. Are they going to survive? Are they going to deal with COVID or whatever? What is their next life going to be? How are they going to accomplish their karmic purpose? Are they going to be with their family in a future life, for example? These kinds of things. These are very important to people. And that's where I help them to elicit the information and to use it clinically.
Why would somebody go to a hypnotherapist like yourself to find out if their business is going to succeed? Or, it seems like there's a codependency being developed here.
No, actually, there isn't. And let me show you why. Let's take an example, because I work with a lot of business people. So let's say somebody is worried about their business, or they want to enter a new business. They're going to use other methods other than me. They're going to do statistical analysis. They're going to do probability, mathematics for probability. They're going to consult with the angst of the industry, the demographics they're looking for, the financial end of it. They're going to do all that. Right? Now, that's fine. So that means that they say, this is a good business, but where do they do this? Where do they open up? Who do they use to advertise and market the business? These kinds of decisions need to be made too. And they can't just do that by mathematical probabilities. There, they would like to have, or is their future business partner going to be honest with them and a good partner, or somebody who's going to cause them problems? These kinds of relationship issues are always critical.
I agree. So where does the hypnotherapist come in, and where does the hypnotherapist get the information? Because as we know,
I don't have the information. Their soul does. Their subconscious mind could perceive into the fifth dimension. They become an ultra-terrestrial, and they can remember the space-time continuum. This is hard science, by the way. There's really no argument about the space-time continuum. We get that from Einstein, okay? E = mc squared, all right? So their subconscious mind, by connecting to their higher self in the fifth dimension, they give me the information. I'm just asking them the questions. I don't give them any information. They give it to me. And therefore, we were able to elicit anytime it's like being in court. They give me an answer to a question. I ask them the next question based upon their current answer. It's the same thing like you're doing an examination in a courtroom, except this is a clinical procedure. And that's how
all right, stand by. We've got to take our break at the bottom of the hour. X-Zone Nation, Dr. Bruce Goldberg is with us, drbrucegoldberg.com. This is the X-Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, where it is still Friday, March the 31st in the year 2003. We haven't traveled anywhere, not even down the QEW. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. Dr. Bruce Goldberg is our guest this hour, drbrucegoldberg.com. Bruce, first of all, thanks very much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you. Question, it seems that taking a person under hypnosis, going to the fifth dimension, sounds like something that a psychic does when they do a psychic...
Okay, so you have to define some terms here. First of all, it's in hypnosis, not under hypnosis, number one, because hypnosis is natural. It's a natural alpha brainwave level. Whenever you're daydreaming, you're driving on the freeway in a car, realizing all the exits that you pass by, about 25% of the time you're in a daydream state, which is an alpha brainwave, which you can call hypnosis. We call that. Okay, I call that auto hypnosis. Okay, and that's what it's called actually.
They also call it, I believe, highway hypnosis.
Yes, or freeway hypnosis. We call that in California. Okay, that's also documented. Every police department, every DMV will document that. Now, the other aspect of hypnosis is doing research on the computer, reading a book, watching a TV show, anything you're interested in where time goes by quickly. So that's a natural state. So all I'm doing, I'm not creating anything. I'm not Mesmer here or the magician. I'm simply guiding a patient into a natural state, except I'm helping them to use it clinically. And that's where they don't do that normally by themselves. Now, the thing I mentioned, remember, when you go to sleep at night, and this is Dream Laboratory research, we have UCLA here, we have universities around the world. You've got Toronto, University of Toronto, I'm familiar with. I've been there, by the way. So you have situations that when you dream, you are in a very deep level of alpha. The REM cycle, the rapid eye movement, is the fifth stage of a 5-stage sleep cycle. And when you're in that fifth stage, not only are you dreaming, but you are actually out of the body. The soul leaves the body, occupies a spiritual body, leaves the clone of itself to protect the physical body, and now you're in the fifth dimension. And with me, you can access your higher self and actually do clinically therapeutic regimens. But let me tell you what's going on. So when you're traveling in the fifth dimension, people say, well, what's it like? Well, there are people or entities you can meet in the fifth dimension. You can meet your higher self, which of course is the clinical part that we use. That's the perfect part of your soul. You can do healing and all kinds of fun things. You can meet spirit guides. You can meet time travelers from our future, which we'll go into in a moment. You can review your Akashic records. That's what a psychic does. They review your Akashic records, which is a record of all past, present, future, and parallel lives too. And they can, if they're real and they're not phony, they can actually give that to you. You can meet departed relatives. Some people use this to overcome bereavement because they lost a loved one, whatever that, or a pet, interesting.
Right, yes.
Applies. And so therefore they can meet them in the fifth dimension and overcome their depression, which is a characteristic of bereavement. You can overcome the fear of death because now you realize that there's no such thing as death. The physical body dies, but the soul reincarnates. So there is no such thing as death other than the physical aspect, which, you know, we all have we're all going to fertilize the lawn eventually, but the soul is eternal. You can do ascension training to leave the karmic cycle so you don't have to keep coming back, so you can rejoin the God energy complex. We call that ascension, a very specific and very important, in fact, the most important thing I deal with. You can do things like astral negotiation. Suppose you're having some problems with somebody on the earth plane. You can take them to the upper astral plane where you go at night. You can summon their astral soul. They'll be accompanied by their higher self, you with your higher self. And then you can work out the difficulty that you had on the earth plane, on the upper astral plane.
So let me ask you this. Is that what, when somebody says, let me sleep on it, they go to bed with a problem, they wake up the next morning, it's solved?
Now, some people use that when they sleep on because they're indecisive. They want to try to decide something, a goal that they're trying to accomplish. But the other aspect of let me sleep on it is maybe we'll do better tomorrow morning. Right. Now, they don't know this technique, but that's what it implies. Now, the last thing the last thing you can do in the fifth dimension, which is critical for major surgery, is that you can take them to what we call the etheric plane, and then they can do etheric plane surgeons. There are these entities who live in the etheric plane that can cure your etheric body, which is a spiritual body. And because the etheric body is the only spiritual body that's identical to the physical body, with a little bit of technique, you can transfer the healing from the etheric to the physical body. And that's how I've worked with patients to overcome incurable diseases. Wow. I'm not doing it, the etheric plane surgeons are doing it. I'm just training them to connect with the etheric body and to transfer the healing. So that's what the advantages of going into the fifth dimension. Now, you can also meet, other than spirit guides, you can meet angels can be there, and of course, time travels from our future. So I'd like to discuss a little bit about that because it relates to the concept of teleportation, which I think is one of the most important things that your viewers would be interested in.
And we've got about 4 minutes in this segment, sir.
Okay, so let me just introduce it. There are people in the future. We call them time travelers. I call them chrononauts is the term that I use. Chrono meaning time and naut meaning traveler. And these time travelers from our future, from the year 3050, a little over 1,000 years from now, to the 50th century, these time travelers have actually mastered the concept of time by enlarging wormholes, as I mentioned, Kip Thorne's article, and coming back in time. And they actually affect our technology and they affect our civilization, interestingly enough. The first time travel team consisted of a bunch of people that you may have heard of. The man who developed time travel is a man named Tatos. Okay, he came back in time with a team to go to ancient Egypt, and his colleagues were Isis, Osiris, Horus, and Geb. That ring a bell? Those are gods. Okay, they were time travelers from the 31st century. Now, the more common time travelers, after they would establish it, they'd have a team of grays, like the Zeta Reticuli, like we have today. They were the gophers, as I call them. Then there were hybrids that were half human and half extraterrestrial. And the leader of the team was a pure human, usually about a 6.5 foot tall Caucasian guy with blue eyes, clean shaven, and a nice white robe with a golden sash. And that would be your pure human time traveler who was the leader of the team. And they would go back in time and do things like help our technology, help keep us from being dominated by other extraterrestrial groups that were trying to take over the planet, like the reptilians and the Lyrans, some of the real nasty ones that were out there and still are out there, by the way. So they protected us, and they also helped us with our technology. So they were very, very important.
So am I to believe that none of the technology that we have today was actually created by humans, but by time travelers?
I would say that's very interesting because I think that you're actually correct. Let me show you why you're correct. When you go to sleep at night, there's research that has been done. You can check this out online. 80% of scientific discoveries and 80% of artistic breakthroughs, painting, sculpture, etc., are all done in the dream levels at night. The time travelers, because they hang around the fifth dimension, because they can, because of technology, they contact us in our dream level. And you have an aha, wunderbar moment when Einstein discovered the theory of relativity, or when Kekulé discovered the benzene ring and then created organic chemistry, which is the basis of medicine today via biochemistry and pharmacology. That was done with dreams. And guess who was involved with the dreams? Time travelers from our future. So they actually have indirectly given us our technology.
Stand by, doctor. I've got to take my final break. X-Zone Nation, Dr. Bruce Goldberg is our guest, drbrucegoldberg.com. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and, here we are still 40 minutes where we should be in this dimension, right here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
So I was watching the X-Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. It's March 31st in the year 2023. Dr. Bruce Goldberg is our guest at drbrucegoldberg.com. Quick question for you, Bruce. While I was watching the spot for Simul TV, if we meet all the time travelers in the fifth dimension or higher, why do some people see UFOs?
Well, UFOs, because extraterrestrials on this dimension are exploring the universe, and we're part of their exploration. Very simple.
But why don't they use the dream state as well? Why would they have to use spacecraft?
Oh no, they travel through wormholes. How do you think they go from one part of the universe to the other without? They would die. It would take years. Take light to go from one part of the universe to the other. They use the idea of going through the fifth dimension, just like a warp drive, which is actually there's a scientific and mathematical model for warp drive. Let me just go on a couple of things with that.
Bruce, we only have 3 minutes left in the show.
Okay, so basically, I just want to make one more reference to, if your viewers order my book, Exploring the Fifth Dimension, from my site, mention the show, they get the free fifth dimensional travel CD. Now, one of the things they can also do with my techniques is teleportation. So let me give you a quick description of one of my patients who was able to go through a teleportation exercise. Their physical body moves from one place to another without any vehicle or any other modality. That's what teleportation is. Here's what it says. It felt almost like I was in a giant web. Suddenly, the world exploded into countless billions of glowing threads. They stretched away in all directions, and they intersected everything, including me. The overall effect was very similar to looking at a hologram, except it was visceral as well as visual. You could see, feel the image. Now, I've trained my patients to go to teleport. I've done it myself, and it's the most difficult thing to do, but it is possible. It's actually reported throughout history. I know there's a lot of religious figures that claim to teleport. There's also real people. So it's something that I find one of the greatest interests of people who contact me, because I'm a new age specialist. Teleportation and out of body experiences are always.
All right, Bruce, I hate to do this, but we're out of time. So Dr. Bruce Goldberg, drbrucegoldberg.com. Does the word snake oil mean anything to anybody out there? Do you remember that word, snake oil? Man, I've been doing this show for 33 years now, Craig. How long we been together, buddy? Yeah, 33 years. And you hear all kinds, and there are people within the New Age movement who call themselves New Age experts and who do a whole bunch of things. They come up with these theories. They come up with new pitches. And then it gets to the crux of the matter. Buy my book, buy my CD, and the list goes on and on and on. They really do create a dependency when it comes to you, the public, if you're gullible enough to actually believe what this pitchman is selling. Yes, the first thing he did mention was he's written how many books? 21 books, so many languages. Okay. That's nice. But once again, it's all hypothetical. I was going to ask him if he could produce a picture of somebody or something from his fifth dimension travels, but then I realized, well, not everybody carries a phone when they go traveling into the fifth dimension. That's it for this hour in the X Zone. On the other side, when we come back, Dale Kazmarek is going to be talking to us about ghosts. Are you a skeptic or a believer? Tell me what you think about Dr. Bruce Goldberg. Send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. After all, this is a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Simul TV, and the X Zone Broadcast Network. I'm Rob McConnell, and some people call me a skeptic. I'm not a skeptic. I'm a realist. Here I am every day of the week, searching for answers, but demanding the truth. We'll be back on the other side of the news at the top of the hour. Don't go away.
Question: what is the name of the unique blend of coffee you get that has been formulated by a neurologist, a neurobiologist, and a pharmaceutical chemist? Answer: you get Beautiful Mind Coffee, a unique coffee blend that tastes great and has herbal ingredients that your brain will love, and it is not just coffee, it's brainalicious. Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, the scientific team that created Beautiful Mind Coffee, decided to collaborate on a coffee focusing on brain health. As for those herbal ingredients found in Beautiful Mind Coffee, Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, utilizing their combined extensive scientific research background, worked with many natural and herbal products until the exact formulation that is found in Beautiful Mind Coffee was created. With a unique scientific formula not found in any other coffee being sold or served, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Every cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee contains scientifically formulated amounts of maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng, all supporting good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older, just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Did you know that cognitive dysfunction also refers to deficits in attention, verbal and non-verbal learning, short-term and working memory, visual and auditory processing, problem-solving, processing speed, and motor functioning? For more on Beautiful Mind Coffee, the 3 scientists who formulated Beautiful Mind Coffee, and more details on the 3 unique herbal ingredients in Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available online at amazon.ca and amazon.com. To order Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca today.